Introduce myself. My name is Shifanandi, and I'm an educator at LeapScholar. Well, I have close to 11 years of experience in teaching IELTS, TOEFL, and other English language programs. And I am certified to teach IELTS through Cambridge. That is, I have advanced teaching skills in IELTS, a certification from Cambridge. And along with that, of course, I have a TOEFL certification, which authorizes me to teach English all over the world. Well, okay, somebody says my voice is too low. Let me just see. Is that fine now? Is that good enough? Yes. Okay, that's nice that I'm audible now. Okay. Well, that's about me. And we have so many people out here, a good number of about 111 people, all eager to join the session. So I'm going to share my screen and let's get going, right? So tell me a little about yourselves. How soon are you giving your IELTS test? So we have a large audience here. So tell me a little that how soon are you planning your IELTS test and what kind of steps are you taking in order to prepare for your IELTS test? Okay, so in June, okay, Harsh says next month. Hajira says 11th June. Trishna not decided. Kavita says 30th of April, and Dhruti, okay, also giving it shortly. Anjali on the 16th. Well, Anjali, you just have your test in 2 days' time, and Shivani after 10 days. Well, most of you are taking it really very shortly, and you don't have much time left with you. So most people have about a month, whereas the other people just have a few days left or a week left for their preparation. So that means you need to prepare a lot. You need to really gear up and prepare for your IELTS, because this is a test of your skills, and skills can only improve with more and more practice. So naturally, you need to do a lot of practice, and at the same time, you need some guidance on how to go ahead with all the types of questions that may be causing some problem to you. I'm sure by now, most of you may have recognized the type of questions that cause some problem to you all, and I hope that you all are working on it. And if not, then this LeapScholar is the right platform where you can address all those difficulties and you can get them clarified. Well, let's just start on with the session. And I'm sure lots of people are eager to get going and get some tips from the session, right? So, that's the session for today. And it's going to be a short session. So I'm not going to take too much time, but then we are going to make sure that you learn, you have some takeaway from this session. So at the end of it, you should feel that, yes, I've learned something worthwhile, which is certainly going to help me do my reading section much better, right? So, well, let's quickly understand. I'm sure there is some idea that you have about the IELTS reading test, right? I'm not going to discuss about the rest of the things about IELTS, because here we are to focus on reading only. Well, Trishna, you're saying that, Trishna, that's something we will deal with that later. So yes, dates can be a problem. Getting your preferred date can be a problem. And that's primarily because you have to, at peak, in peak months, you really have to book in advance, right, to get your preferred date. Well, the IELTS reading test overview. Now let's just understand what this test is all about. So the reading section of the IELTS is designed to test your ability to answer questions related to different topics. And they test your skills as far as the main ideas, understanding the main ideas, the summarizations, recognition of the author's opinions and arguments, and being able to analyze the same. So all these skills are tested in IELTS, because when you're going to a foreign location, it's very important that you should be able to read the language that they use on an everyday basis. And of course, if you're going for education purpose, you ought to understand the lectures in English and be able to understand their accent. At the same time, be able to read all that material and be able to find the answers. So it's very important that you develop these kind of skills, and that's why the IDP tests you on that. Well, there is a minimum. So how much time do you have for your IELTS reading test? It's only 1 hour. Isn't that so? Just 1 hour, that's 60 minutes. And how many questions do you have in that? Well, you have 40 questions to attempt. That's yes, as many as 40 questions. And how many passages do you have? How many passages are there to read? Well, there are 3. All of you are aware of that. That's pretty good. Well, 3 passages, 40 questions, and 1 hour. Quite a big challenge. Isn't that so? Quite a big challenge there. So that means you really have to do pacing in such a manner that you are able to complete all of this in 1 hour. And remember that there is no extra time to transfer your answers from your question paper to your answer sheet when you're doing a paper-based test. So you must do all that in 1 hour. Isn't that so? Well, for a computer-based test, you all would be typing on the computer. You have the facility to copy and paste or click from the drop-down list of options. So all that is there. So that can save your time to a certain extent. Well, the challenge that most of us tend to face is how to go through these lengthy passages and attempt all those 40 questions. That is the biggest challenge. So pacing is very critical here. Most people end up saying, well, the passages were too lengthy, there were too many questions, and there wasn't enough time. So what is the trick? What do we do here? Do we sit and read all the passages actively and carefully? Or do we start looking for the answers? What do you say? What is it that you ought to do? Kamaljeet, the tips and tricks are going to remain the same, whether it is general training or academic training. Okay, so whatever tips and tricks I'm going to tell you, that's going to remain the same. The difference in general and academic is only in the type of passages that you get, but strategies remain the same. The question types remain the same. So this session is for everybody. It's not about, general or academic. Yes, it's Jay says skimming and scanning. Saujanya says looking for keywords and search for the answers. Yes, certainly. We are not going to read the passage actively and carefully, because if we start doing that, we'd spend good about 25 to 30 minutes reading that lengthy passage, and then after that taking another 15 minutes to attempt the questions. So tell me, how much would we spend on one in such a process? Maybe 40 minutes, good about 40 minutes to attempt one passage. Would the remaining 20 minutes be sufficient for the other 2 passages? Definitely not. Right. So let's look through. First of all, yes, many people are a little confused about the academic and the general. Let me just tell you, the number of questions remain the same. The time remains the same. The type of questions that you come across also remains the same. It's just that the passages are a little different for the general and the academic. Who takes the academic test? Well, the academic test is for people who are going abroad for higher education at a university or a college in an English-speaking country. Isn't that so? And what about the general training test? Who takes the general training test? Well, it is intended for people who go abroad for immigration purpose or to gain some work experience. So that's what the general test is meant for, right? Yeah, exactly. Yes, Manpreet for PR. So, well, let's just understand what are the, what is this reading section all about? We've already discussed a little bit. So there are 40 questions, 1 hour, and every question carries 1 point. We all agree with that. Every question carries 1 point, and then your score out of 40 is converted on a scale of 0 to 9 to give you a band. Isn't that so? Well, spellings are very important. So your spellings are wrong, you don't get a mark for your answer. What about the word limit? Is that important to adhere to? Yes or a no? Certainly yes. If you exceed the word limit, you don't get any mark for your answer. Is there a half mark concept? Do you get any half marks in IELTS reading? Like, let's say, okay, partially your answer is correct, let us give you half a mark. No, you don't get. It's either a 0 or a 1. So there's no half mark concept. But remember, there is no negative marking. So please don't leave anything unanswered. Make your best guess in case you don't know at all. No negative marking. Yes. Okay. And this score that you get out of 40 is converted on a scale of 0 to 9 to give you a band. Okay. And well, there are different types of questions. We all know that there are a variety of question types that you need to attempt for your reading section. So what are they? Well, the multiple choice questions. Now, what exactly is a multiple choice question? You have a number of choices, about 3 or 4 of them, and you need to choose one of them. Or maybe if you need to choose more than one, it will be clearly stated in the question that choose two answers. Only in that case, you need to choose 2 of them. Otherwise, it's just one answer that you need to pick up. Yes, there are certain people who've raised their hands. You can use the chat box to ask me the question. If there's anything that you need to ask here at this point. What about the identify? So there are certain questions that where you need to identify the author's view or opinion and identify the information within the passage. So you will be asked, whether a set of statements agree with the information within the passage or the views of the author. And in this case, you would have those yes, no, not given type of questions and true, false, not given type of questions. Well, Jobin, reading is not that difficult. You have to trust your passage. The answers are all there. It's just about being able to identify the correct answer. And that's why, yes, joining some kind of a course to get some guidance or mentorship on how to crack the different types of questions is really very important. Otherwise, you just end up struggling, with the questions. At times, you may just get them right. At other times, you'll get them wrong. But then what is the way to get them right each time and every time you do any passage? Well, you learn to read, you need to learn some strategies and tips from the experts to be able to crack those type of questions. Okay. So, well, matching type of questions are also the ones which cause problems. So one type of question which is an Achilles heel for most people is that yes, no, not given, true, false, not given, which many people find it difficult. The other one is, of course, the matching type of questions, because there are more number of options than the questions. And what causes a difficulty is that, some of them look really similar. So choosing the right one out of that is quite a challenge. Well, there's a process of elimination that we normally follow when we have more number of choices. So what are the different matching type of questions that we tend to have? Well, matching information. So you need to find out that which paragraph contains the following information type of questions, or matching headings. You need to give a heading to every paragraph based on the main idea. So that means you need to identify the main idea and be able to recognize that what is the right heading for your paragraph. So that, of course, can be very challenging sometimes, because some of the headings are so close. It gets so difficult to find out, which one is the right one. So how do you do that? Well, there's a strategy that we need to follow for that. That means the main ideas need to be identified. And then the big question is how to identify the main idea from the details. That is another thing that you need to learn in order to be able to crack those type of questions. Well, matching sentence endings and sentence completion type of questions is another one, where you need to complete the sentences by filling up the blanks or choosing from a list of options. Yeah. Now, what about the next type of question? Well, flowcharts, summaries, table completion. These are another set of questions that you have. Again, here, your ability to understand details or pay attention to the details is of paramount importance, which will help you to complete these type of questions. Along with that, of course, diagram labeling questions, where you need to understand a process and label the diagram. And short answer questions, well, there is a certain word limit that is given to you for all the questions, and you need to answer them within the limit to for those questions there. What is Arfia saying? Completing the sentence would have to find out and paste. Yes. Well, completion, sentence completion, Arfia, is of two kinds. One of them is where you need to fill up the blank by picking up the words from the passage on your own. And the other type of question is where you have a list of options and you need to choose from the list of options that's provided to you. Those are incomplete sentences, and the sentence endings are there in the box of options. You need to pick up the sentence endings and complete them by choosing those. So in this case, the number of options would be more than the questions, right? Well, before we move ahead now to the tips and about now, stay tuned till the end because I have a few small exercises for you all to do. So these are going to help you understand a few types of questions. So I have a lot of exercises lined up for you all because my sessions are always interactive. I want my audiences to be really very active and stimulate their brain by doing certain exercises, right? So let's just first have a look at a small piece of information that I want to share here about some of the things that IELTS, the LeapScholar offers in terms of IELTS. We have this premium course. Now, many of you, in fact, told me that you have just about a week left or 10 days left or a month left. So how are you going to crack your preparation? You may have identified up till now that what is your weak point, which section is causing a problem to you. So in that case, you can join IELTS premium batches, 1 week special batches. Now for all those people who have very little time left, this is a golden opportunity for you to up your preparation. Now, what are the features of this? You have this 1 week special batch can be taken up module wise. So you can pick up any one module that you think that is causing a problem to you, whether it is reading, writing, listening or speaking. And in this, you have 9 hours of live classes. That means 1.5 hours per class. So you have 1 week, within which your course is complete. 9 hours of live classes, compact and batch size, so small batches, live interaction, so that you can get personal attention. And then, of course, you have 5 mock tests, listening, reading, and writing, which include all these 3, and 8 speaking club slots. Now, what is a speaking club slot? Well, you get evaluated for your speaking in these slots. They ask you a number of questions and they give you an evaluation of how you're going with your speaking and what all improvements need to be made. Expert writing evaluations are also there. You get evaluations for your writing tasks, and what better way to improve your writing when you get your evaluations, and recordings of all the live sessions. Where this course is for 548, but if you use my code SNLive, you are my live audience. You can use this code SNLive20 and you can get a 20% discount and get this course for just about 438. So you can join this batch and you can enroll in any one of the classes that you feel you want to complete your preparation, whether it is listening, reading, writing, or speaking, right? Well, these are the number of batches that you have. There are different timings: morning, afternoons, evening, night time batches. So you can pick up the one that you feel comfortable using and enrolling for, and you can go ahead with your preparation, right? Well, another very novel offering from a LeapScholar is about the speaking rooms. Well, speaking rooms are those rooms where you can practice your speaking. Now, many a times we feel that who do we practice speaking with? Well, this is the place you can go to and practice your speaking. So all you have to do is you just have to download the Leap Prep app by LeapScholar on your Android devices, and once downloaded, you can join the speak button in the bottom bar, and you can join any of the speaking rooms and start practicing speaking with people all over India 24/7. You can do that kind of practice, and that's a very novel offering from LeapScholar. So go ahead and take this opportunity and download the Leap Prep app by LeapScholar. Okay. Getting back to where we were, well, the tips for reading, and of course some exercises lined up in between for you. Okay, so well, what are the top tips for reading? Now, it's very important that you read every day. Whatever you like to read, read, because that's how you're going to improve your speed at reading. Speed reading is really very important, isn't that so? So you can't read at leisure in your exam, and that's going to help you to, well, if there are any questions, you can use the chat box to ask me questions. Gulam, it is not for iOS at the moment. We only have this Leap Prep app by LeapScholar for the Android users. So that is one of the limitations as of now. Well, read every day. You need to read from a myriad sources like articles online, newspapers, novels, journals, wherever you can, whatever interests you. Try not to read consciously and just go with the flow of the text. Read curiously and read for fun, because that's how your reading abilities will certainly improve. Okay. Yes, we are. I have an exercise lined up for that, Minakshi. So keep waiting for that. Read the question first. Now, the first thing we were discussing was that, is it possible to read the entire passage at leisure and take good about 30 minutes to read? Well, no, that's not possible. So how do we attempt the reading section? Well, look at the questions first. So what is the strategy here? Look at the questions first. Don't start reading the passage. Just look at the heading of the passage, read the heading and the subheading to just get an idea what this article is about, and move to the questions. Look at the questions and run through them, read the instructions and understand what is to be done. So start working out your answers rather than the other way around. That means don't start reading the passage first. Start looking at the questions. This tip is a game changer when it comes to IELTS reading. You have 60 minutes to answer so many questions linked to 3 texts. And by the way, anybody knows how many questions are associated to passage 1? How many questions are associated to passage 1? Yes, 13. How many associated to passage 2? 13. And what about the last passage? 14. Yes, 14. So 13 plus 13 plus 14, that makes a total of 40 questions that we have in your test. So naturally, we ought to, leave a little extra time for the last passage. So that means pacing is really very important and time is of essence. You cannot read the text fully and take your own sweet time. So read the questions first, start looking for the answers, because that is what we are concerned about. We are not concerned about reading each and every line carefully. So tell me one thing, is it easy to understand a small part of the passage or the whole passage in one go? What is easier for you? Understanding a few lines or the whole passage? Small part, certainly a small part of the passage. How are you going to locate that small part of the passage? By looking through the keyword in the question. So look at the keyword in the question, go and spot that keyword in the passage, and then read a few lines around that keyword and try to figure out your response. So it becomes much easier because our brain can process that small piece of information much easily rather than, looking at the whole passage and panicking. My God, such a lengthy passage. It's intimidating. How to find the answers? No, that's not what you have to do. Okay. Yes. So what's the next thing that we ought to do? Well, yeah. So reread the question. It's very important that reread the questions and understand them. Don't just read in a hurry. When you're looking for answers, it's very important to read the questions carefully, because many a times when you don't understand the question, you'd be looking for the wrong answer. So this, a lack of understanding of the question can pull you back a long way. Another thing, yes, skim and scan. It's very important. So skimming and scanning is very important because that's how we are going to look at the small portions of the passage and then read through actively and find out the answers. Well, skim the passage given to you, look for the main ideas, understand the layout of the text, highlight the keywords and salient features, and try to make sense of what the passage is about. So just try to understand the overall gist of the passage or the gist of each and every paragraph, and that should be sufficient for you to answer the questions. This is the key when it comes to the reading section. Well, are all of you geared up for the first activity? Yes? Everybody out there ready to do the first activity with me? Okay, great. So let's just put on our thinking caps and find out the answer to the question that I have now here for you. Now, identifying the main idea, and which question is associated to identifying the main ideas? Well, headings is one of them. Isn't that so? Heading type of questions which makes people jittery many a times, which heading to choose. Well, this is the passage for you, and I have a list of options for you. You need to choose the right heading for this paragraph. Right, everybody? 1 minute for you to attempt this question. Choose a suitable heading for the paragraph, everybody, which summarizes the main idea. Okay. 1 minute for everybody to look through. Okay, what about the others? Some have already got the answers. What about the answer? What about the others? Okay, very good. Okay, some of them have different answers here. So we are going to discuss all of them and see which one and why. Well, Chandrama says learning about software. Shobna says computing skills for beginners. Saloni also says the second one. And well, some people are talking about learning about software. Okay, let's just understand. So we have mixed set of answers here. So somebody is talking about the first one. Others are, most of you are talking about the second one. And there are people who, a good number of people who are talking about the third one. Now let's look at these headings here. Choose a suitable title. That's the instruction that which summarizes the main idea. Now let's run through this paragraph, and I will tell you a trick on how to identify the main idea. What is the main idea here? Let me just, yeah, okay. Now read this, the first line of a paragraph, and read the last line also of a paragraph. And that should really give you an idea what this paragraph is about. Now, the other things here in between are some details that the paragraph is talking about. Now, overcome your fear of computers and step into the world of IT. Now, what are they talking about? It says at the end of the 2 days, that means at the end of this 2 days course, you will be able to differentiate between the various types of computers, identify hardware, components of a computer, create a document using commercial software, and work with a mouse. So what is it that the students are going to learn at the end of, or people are going to learn at the end of the 2-day workshop or the course? Various things, right, which are mentioned here in this part. Lots of things. So these are all details. What are they? What are they about the course? They are details of the course. What is it basically about? Is it about identifying different types of computers? Well, we did read something about different types of computers, but is this the whole thing that you're going to learn in the course? No, that's only one of the things in the course, right? What about learning about software? Well, we did read something about software here, but then it's also one of the details from within the course. Everybody, do you all understand? These are details of the course. What is the main idea? The main idea is, so this is not the answer, because different types of computers, well, that's one of the details. This is also one of the details. So what is the correct answer? Computing skills for beginners. Who would be learning all this? All those people who are complete beginners, they'd be learning about this one. Isn't that so? Yes, everybody? Do we all get that? Yes, great, very good. Yeah, I know. Lots of people got that right, and I'm so happy about that. And others who did not, I'm sure you understood that what needs to be done here as far as the headings are concerned, because we cannot choose the heading based on the details. We need to choose the heading based on the main idea. Okay, let's get going with the other tips. Now, key in the keywords in your head. Now, what's that? Well, keep the keywords in your head. It's very important because this is going to help you to look for information, to look for specific information and fill in or choose the right answers. Skimming is, while skimming, make sure you highlight words, keywords like dates, places, topics, numbers, etc. You will learn to recognize them with practice. Right. So it's very important that you identify some of the keywords like the dates, place, topics, or nouns, some kind of names of places or percentages or numbers, dates. These are easy to identify in the passage and spot them. So if these are there in your questions, please try to identify them and immediately try to spot them in the passage. And around that keyword, look through that small portion of the passage and find out your answer. Read a few lines above and below the keyword, that small portion. Now you should not skim. You have to read in detail. That means you have to read actively and carefully when you're looking through that small portion of the passage and find out your answer. Well, another activity coming up. Now gear up for this activity and slightly longer paragraph, but then it's going to be quite exciting to look for the answers here. So you need to look for this answer first. Okay, quickly, let's have the answer. Now, remember, you're not going to sit and read this entire thing. What are you going to look for? You're going to look for the keywords. What are the keywords? I've helped you with that. Two materials. What two materials made by humans are mentioned in the passage? Now, what is it that the question is talking about? Two materials made by humans is what you're going to look for in the passage. So look for the keywords and spot the information, read actively and answer the question. So this is your first question from this passage. Remember not to start reading the passage, scan the passage, skim the passage, and look for the materials made by humans. Remember, the passage may not have the same language. Made by humans may be written in a different manner, in a paraphrased version in the passage. Let me see how many are able to accomplish that. Well, Sumit says sand and food. Vanshu says concrete and glass. Aparna also says concrete and glass. Well, Jatin too talks about that. Bindu says largely sand. Bindu, we are looking for materials made by humans. Sand, is sand, made by humans? Okay, many of you have the answer. Okay, very good. Let's just spot. Can anybody tell me which is the word which is similar to made by humans in the passage, which helped you spot the answer? Yes, very good. That's man-made. So where's that? It's here in the second paragraph, man-made materials. And it is a major element. What is it referring to? It is referring to sand. Isn't that so? If we read a few lines above this keyword, we come to know this paragraph is talking about sand. It is sand is a major element in man-made materials too. Which are the man-made materials the author is talking about? Concrete is largely sand, while glass is made of little else. Now, what does that mean? That means the main ingredient of glass is sand, and concrete is also largely more or less sand, right? So what are the two materials here? Concrete and glass, right, everybody? So lots of people got that right, and a thumbs up, a big thumbs up to all of you. Very good, great. Concrete and glass. Now remember, if the word limit is 2 words, then how would you write the answer to this question? How would you write the answer to this question if I say that the word limit is no more than 2 words? Yes, very good, Simran. concrete, comma, sand, sorry, concrete, comma, glass. So that's how you're going to write. That means you're not going to use the word and, because and is also counted as a word. So that will make it 3 words and your answer would go wrong. But if it says no more than 3 words, then you can very well write concrete and glass. You can write it like that. Okay. Well, both the answers need to be correct to get 1 mark. If one of them is wrong, you don't get a mark for your answer, because we know there is no partial marking, no half mark concept in IELTS. Okay. Well, let's look at the next one. Next question here for this, based on the same passage. Which part of a grain of sand have scientists measured? Look for the answer very quickly. What's the key word? Scientists measured part of a grain. So which part have the scientists measured? Look for the keyword, something related to scientists, something related to measurement would really be helpful. Measurement relates to numbers. So spot the numbers there and see what part of the grain of sand are they measuring. Okay, lots of people got the right answer. Great, very good. What about the others? Yes, Simran, Ikra, Shraddha, very good. Srinath, we are not the question is not asking you about the measurement. It's asking you about the part of a grain of sand that the scientists have measured. And what is that? Well, lots of measurements here. So most likely we should be able to find our answer somewhere close to this. So if their diameter, so now what, there is a reference word. What is there referring to? What exactly is sand? So again, it's talking about sand. In fact, according to most generally accepted scheme of measurement devised by MIT, grains qualify. Grains means the grains of sand qualify if their diameter is greater than. So what is measured? The diameter is measured. Islam, it's diameter that's measured. And that is what they are considering if it has to qualify, grains qualify, if the grains qualify, right? So it is diameter. That's great, very good. Lots of people got that right. Okay, so the trick was to look for some place where the measurements are mentioned, because that is the right place in the passage. And then a few lines above and below, you read carefully that portion to figure out that what part of a grain of. Now remember, if you don't read the question actively and carefully, you would misunderstand and give the wrong answer or wrong interpretation of the information in the passage. And that's what happened with some of the people when they were talking about certain other things like shingle. People are talking about the measurement. They're providing the measurement as the answer. But is the question asking you to give the measurement? No. They're asking you which part of a grain of sand. Shingle is not the answer. Well, it is larger than a fine dust and smaller than a shingle. That they're comparing it. Okay, what is sand? They're defining it. So measurement is not what they're doing here. Measurement means something accurate. Isn't that so? So what are they measuring here? They're measuring the diameter. Okay, great, everybody. Good. That was a wonderful, way to attempt. Some of you got that right. So now let's look at the remaining here. Familiarize yourself with the various question types and practice. So it's very important that you are familiar that what type of questions you get in IELTS, and accordingly start practicing. For some, true, false, not given, maybe a, the worst type of question there for them. But what is your Achilles heel? That means what is your weak point? Try to figure out, and that only your practice tests can tell you. That means the more you practice, then you come to know what type of questions are causing a problem to you. Okay. Well, vocabulary, many a times we feel we come across some vocabulary that we don't understand, but do you really need to bother about vocabulary here? No, you don't need to know the exact meanings of those words that are used, because you only need to understand the contextual meaning of the words which are there in the passage. So don't get panicky, when you look at some unfamiliar words. Just try to understand the overall meaning of the sentence, and don't get into the nitty-gritties of those specific words and their meanings, dictionary meanings. Don't get into all that. Yes, Tejaswini, you can switch from one passage to another. You can move back and forth, Tejaswini, okay? Even if you're doing a computer-based paper, you still can move back and forth. For your question, paper-based exam, you certainly can move, here and there, flip the pages. So all that is possible in your reading, okay? So you can leave a certain question unanswered and come back to it later, because if it's really bothering you, is it worthwhile to spend too much time on that? No, it's not. Please move to the next one and come back to that later, okay? Well, distinguish the IELTS text. Like I said, there are 3 passages. The first one is descriptive in nature and much easier to understand. So allocate less time for that one. About 15 to 17 minutes would be my advice, because this passage is easy to understand and there are 13 questions associated to it. The remaining 2 passages are discursive or argumentative, and therefore they're a little more challenging. So please leave aside a little extra time for these passages. The last one has 14 questions, so it makes sense to leave 1 or 2 extra minutes for that one. Okay, well, that's very important, because if you don't do pacing and set a time limit for yourself, it will be very difficult to accomplish the task of attempting those 40 questions. And remember that the passage is sacrosanct. That means you must trust the passage. All the answers are there. It's very important that you look for the answers from within the passage and don't use your own knowledge to answer the questions. And paraphrase, it's very important for paraphrasing. You know that the questions will not use the same language as the used in passage. And therefore, you need to understand the synonyms, right, everybody? Let's quickly do this last exercise and let's get going with this one, the paraphrases. So let's just understand. Choose the statement that best paraphrases the main idea of the paragraph. A, B, or C. Quickly do this one. Read carefully, Shaurya. Don't be in a rush to attempt the questions. Now, I'll just tell you a few things here. This is concessional language. Anything associated to concessional language is not the main idea. It is not the main idea, okay? Anything associated to the concessional language is not the main idea. The main idea comes after the commas, okay? When such a sentence is constructed, then there is a comma in between the sentence. The main idea comes after the comma, okay? These two although despite the fact, so this is concessional language. Keep in mind. And of course, use that trick. Isn't that so? That's going to be really helpful. Use that trick to understand the main idea. Okay, very good. Lots of people have got the right answer. Great. So you are talking about a lot of people are still reading magazines. Very good. And how did you eliminate the first and the third one? Well, the trick, Neha, is that you can, from a lengthy paragraph also, you can identify the main idea by reading the first line and the last line of the paragraph. You will be able to understand. In most cases, you'll be able to understand the main idea. The rest of it, you can skim through. And of course, another thing very important in reading very important tip here, that transition words are very important in reading. Don't ignore them. Concessional language, this is concessional language, although and despite is concessional language. Anything associated to concessional language is not the main idea. Okay, so magazines are more popular. Now look at this. More popular? No, they are not talking about more popular than they used to be. This paragraph is certainly not talking about that. So we just eliminate this one. What about this? TV is more available than ever. Well, is that the main idea? There are certain lines related to more TV channels, whether cable, satellite, terrestrial, or digital, and despite the incursion of the internet. What is it that the author is trying to primarily say? He says magazines are still a regular shopping item. And he also talks about the fact that many magazines in Europe continue to enjoy the circulations in millions. So this being the main idea, and that goes with the last option. So the second option, that is, a lot of people are still reading magazines, and that indicates. So what about TV is more available? Well, that was just a concessional statement. That was just concession that he was giving. The other point of view that yes, TV is there, but then magazines are still a regular shopping item. Very good, good, great. All those people who got that right. Well, that was just a short session to help you understand a few tricks and tips. But then naturally, when you attend a full class, of 9 hours, that's going to make a huge difference. So if you think that reading is something that requires attention, then you can join the reading premium course. And remember, the cost is just about 438. If you use the promo code SN Live 20, please use that, because that may not be available. You're getting a discount at the moment by using my code SN Live 20 to join the course. You can either join reading, listening, speaking, writing, whatever you wish, with whatever you think requires more attention from your side, but you don't have that much time. You can just go for a premium course, which is going to last for 1 week, 1.5 hours each class, 9 live classes, compact batch sizes to give you personal attention, 5 sets of mock tests, read for listening, reading, and writing, 8 speaking club slots to get yourself evaluated for your speaking, and expert write evaluations and recordings of all the live sessions. So much here in just about 438. So please go ahead and use this code SN Live 20, and that's going to just give you this particular, any course that you pick up for 438 only. Okay, well, these are the available slots and the courses. You can pick and choose from any one of them. All our educators are very good. They are going to give you such kind of tips and tricks that certainly will help you to get a very high band, and you will get personal attention in the classes. So you can choose from any of these. And of course, don't forget to use this novel, application that is about the speaking rooms to practice your speaking with partners from anywhere in India 24/7. And that certainly will take you a long way as far as your speaking is concerned. Well, that's about from my side. But yes, we should not forget the last few things that I would like to tell you, that you have 40 questions in reading, 60 minutes. So obviously you can't afford to spend more than 1 minute on each and every question. The rest, around 15 minutes, be utilized for reading the texts. So last few minutes you must leave for reviewing your answers, or certain questions that you may have found very difficult and challenging. You may have left them. You go and back and attempt those questions. If nothing works, then use your best guess, because there's no negative marking in IELTS. Okay. And do not waste your time on tough questions. As I said, get the easy ones out of the way, and then come back and deal with the tough ones later if they're really bothering you. Remember, it is not you against that one question alone. There are 39 more waiting for you to be solved. So prioritize, okay? And practice 20-minute difficult texts. This will help train you beyond the IELTS level of difficulty. So practice difficult texts for 20 minutes, because that kind of stamina you need to build, and that kind of focus and attention you need to build. So which will ensure that you ace up the actual exam. So that's it from my side. And I hope you really liked the session and felt that it was useful to some extent. Yes, it was a short session, so we really can't accommodate so much. But whatever I have told, I hope it is going to be helpful to you all. And I wish you all the very best for your upcoming test. And I do wish that maybe you take up an opportunity and enroll for the course that you think is challenging for you. You can take up any one of the modules and enroll for that. Use the code SNLive20 and take this opportunity to do that course for 9 hours live sessions for just about 438. Go ahead and take this opportunity, enroll for the course, right? So that's it. I'm going to sign off now and wish you all the very best. So I hope you liked the session. Yes, a very big thank you to all of you for being so participative. It was really great. And to have everybody, gearing up for the exercises that I had, though there were a few, but still there was ample participation from everybody's side. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Bye-bye to all of you. And I'm signing off here. Thank you. Thank you, Chandrama. And this session was live on YouTube. So you can go back and look at it again. And you can also recommend it to